Joining me now with reaction is House Minority Whip Steve Scalise and Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who spent his day yesterday with President Trump. All right, Congressman Scalise, I have a question for you. Has the GOP policy retreat ever centered on a celebrity telling you to just curse more?
Laura, no. And what you saw there is such a contrast between why they failed so much, and I thought it was an appropriate term you used because tomorrow marks the 100th day of Nancy Pelosi's speakership, and it's been defined by nothing but failure. Failure to secure the border, a failure to focus on lowering health care costs, failure to end infanticide, failure to stand up to the anti-Semitism. Look, I'm here in New York, and all I've heard today is anger about what Rep. Omar continues to do to not only offend Jewish people, but now victims of 9/11 and their families. It's just one thing after another, and they continue to want to harass President Trump and not deal with the real issues, while President Trump's out there not only meeting with blue-collar workers, but helping create more jobs. He's helped create more women-owned businesses. He's helped raise wages for families. And so that's what he's going to keep working on, and that's what, frankly, what he was elected to do, while they focus on trying to harass him and his family and not focus on the problems of this country.
Dan Patrick, you were with the president all day yesterday, and yes. I was thinking of you because I've known you for so many years. You're someone who focuses on a problem, tries to get it solved, just like Scalise does. But these Democrats today had a panel discussion, or maybe it was yesterday when the whole thing kicked off, and it was called "Who Are the People?" That was the name of the panel discussion that kicked it off, and it was moderator, hosted by a Yale professor and a Harvard professor. I mean, nothing against them. I mean, look, I went to an Ivy League school, but I just thought that was funny. I mean, you can't even write that line. That's the funniest thing ever.
No, that's not exactly middle America. You know, Laura, when I was with the president all day yesterday, one of the things that struck me at both locations, first of all, when we were with the union workers and he signed those executive orders, I said to a few people at the time, you know what? One man, Donald Trump, in just a few years has transformed the entire Republican Party to no longer be seen as the party of the wealthy or the elite, but to be seen as the party of the people, the hardworking Americans. And the left, the Democrats, have totally moved away from them, as you have said, and they're about to get a butt kicking in 2020 because the people that were on that stage from the union yesterday, they love this president. When we drove into Crosby, Texas, it was like a 4th of July parade. There were thousands along the parade route. And then when we were in San Antonio earlier in the morning, and the first person spoke up and said, when the president said, what can we do for you in San Antonio? And a gentleman named Gene Powell said, well, we need to build a barrier. And he said, and this is the reason. And one rancher after the other rancher after the next property owner talked about finding dead bodies on their property, 7 last week, 3 last month. And I said to the president, Mr. President, we have recovered over 1,000 dead bodies in Texas since 2011, just out in nowheres, in the middle of nowhere.
And he was stunned. I was stunned to hear that.
And let me tell you what the exact numbers are, Laura. We did the checking today. 1,671 dead bodies have been recovered in Texas, near and along the border. That's women, that's children, that's old people. These are the most vulnerable people. And the Democrats say they care about people. These are the most vulnerable people that the drug cartels and the human smugglers have taken across the border, given them a little bit of water, and left them to die. And that 1,671, Laura, that's the skeletal remains we find. There are thousands and thousands of people. And so he called in the media, and we said, this is the story. You want to cover a story? Go down. I'll take them in through the no man's land, and we'll find some skeletons, and we'll show them the photographs. Thousands of people have died coming to this country, and it really impacted the president.
No, it did. And Congressman Scalise, we had Julian Castro was out there today having a different take on Texas. Let's watch.
We're not going to treat migrants like criminals. We're going to treat them like human beings. We're going to let them claim asylum. This president wants us to believe that we have to choose between a border that is secure and compassion. He paints a picture of cities like El Paso and McAllen and other border cities that are unsafe. The truth is that these are some of the safest cities in the entire country.
Congressman Scalise, you know, we know how open borders has affected communities. Certain communities can absorb more people, but when we have 150,000, approximately, that's what they're forecasting for the month of April, in 1 month crossing the border illegally, that's just not fair to any community near or around the border.
Yeah, and Laura, it's not only unfair to communities all across this country. What about those millions of people who are waiting to come here legally? The people that are actually following the rules. In every country you can imagine from around the world, people that want to seek their piece of the American dream.
Oh, they don't care about them.
And they're waiting years. And what Democrats that are open border Democrats want is the ability for just anybody to come across wherever they want without a system of laws. And you look at the drugs, you look at the human trafficking that's so real that Dan talks about, and Dan's a good friend in Texas, what he's doing to help highlight this and showing the president some of those areas. And the president wants to know.
But you got Hollywood celebrities, guys, lecturing us versus real Americans who are either doing the hard labor, the actual manual labor that keeps this economy going, or people who are property owners dealing with livestock who are saying this is what we're dealing with. These are human bodies we're finding every month of every year because of this broken border. And they're just like, they're like laughed at. Oh, this is not an emergency. Castro's up there saying we're not compassionate. I mean, this is lunacy. This is, at some point, this is just sheer lunacy.
Laura, most Americans want a secure border. They want us to follow the laws that are there, and that's what this president is doing. He ran on it. He got elected on it. They don't like the fact that he got elected, but you know what? The American people sent him to do this job, and he's carrying it out. He's following through on his promises.
Democrats aren't getting it. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Tonight, the hypocrisy of the Dems on full display. Democrats are terrified, as they should be. Terrified that the investigation they insisted on having, an investigation they believed would prove the President of the United States to be an agent of Russia, is about to backfire on them. The Attorney General is now on record saying spying did occur. The question now, what was the spying predicated upon? This is a question every American citizen should want to know the answer to, right? I mean, as Americans, we have zero tolerance when it comes to spying on innocent citizens. Our freedom, our privacy, these are things that are inherently American, regardless of party affiliations. And yet the Democrats, the same people that insisted on the importance of the Mueller investigation, the same people that are insisting on the release of the entire report, and on this, I'll give them this, they're right. We should see it, all of it. Those people do not want the AG to examine what led to the Mueller investigation in the first place. I mean, that's just a little odd, right? Right? I mean, you can't have it both ways. Either you want to know what happened in 2016, and I do, or you don't. But the Democrats only want to know what happened when they think it's going to result in corruption charges for the president that they hate so much. Consider this. They repeatedly accused the president of obstructing justice by criticizing the Mueller probe. And yet, the same group is now criticizing any probe at all into spying. So wait a second here. If they thought the president of the United States was obstructing justice by criticizing the Mueller investigation, aren't they actually obstructing justice by criticizing the spying investigation? This shouldn't be political. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered, must be answered. The Attorney General must ask these questions. The use of FISA warrants must be investigated. Attorney General Barr is doing his job, and everyone, Democrat and Republican, should welcome that.
Well, joining us tonight to take up what is going on at our border and the appeal for open borders and unlimited immigration into this country, we're joined tonight by Mark Morgan, former U.S. Border Patrol Chief under President Obama. Mark, good to see you. We put up Castro and Bush just for folks to see what's going on. These are talking points. This is a campaign likely orchestrated by the usual suspects, the Business Roundtable, the Koch brothers, the Chamber of Commerce, Wall Street, and K Street. Your reaction to listening to a former president say those things in the midst of what is a national emergency?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that America actually is the most generous country on the planet for immigration. I believe the numbers last year is we let 1 million people legally into this country. So let's just start with that. So on that premise alone, we are doing better than any other country on that fact alone. What we're talking about is illegal immigration and the abuse and exploitation of our law and our generosity, Lou.
Yes, and Mark, to your point, there aren't any 3 countries in the world who combined bring in as many new immigrants into their country and naturalize them as U.S. citizens. That just isn't happening anywhere else in the world. And to hear this claptrap that we've heard now for 20 years, usually under the auspices and encouragement of La Raza, LULAC, a number of ethnocentric activist organizations, and of course now the radical Democratic Party, it's stunning. And the president has put before that same Democratic Party propositions that would have led to resolving the immigration system's many problems, would have assured border security with simply putting the money forward on the wall. He cannot move the Democratic Party to even remotely consider the national interest.
Lou, so that's absolutely right. And what I've actually been saying, the American people need to understand is actually the crisis we're facing right now is the worst in our history. Back in the 90s, when we were talking about that 1.5 million, first of all, we had some recidivism. So the same person was going back and forth 2 or 3 times. And we removed 90% of them. They were Mexican adult males. We removed them. This year, over 1 million that you suggested, but because of our broken laws and because 65 to 70% are families, we allow them in the United States. 700,000 this year we're going to let into the United States, and we know that 85% of them are filing false claims. How is that not a crisis? This needs immediate, swift, and bold action to address.
And you know, this business the left has now made Kirstjen Nielsen, you know, their target of choice, attacking her viciously, wanting her to be, as one wag put it, a pariah forever, trying to keep her from employment because she was part of the Trump administration trying to secure the border. I'd like to get your reaction to that. In 2014, we've seen all of the pictures of what happened with 60,000 unaccompanied minors at our border. Much the same situation for those children as they experienced during a less than a 2-month period of so-called zero tolerance under this administration. The hypocrisy, the viciousness, the venomous, the politics of personal destruction of the left are frankly, I think, going to backfire on this Democratic Party. I don't think, right as it stands now, there's a single candidate among their Democratic hopefuls for president in 2020 who stands even the slightest chance.
So Lou, first of all, anybody who steps into the breach to be the Secretary of DHS will always have my respect. That is a massive department with a massive responsibility. It's not just about border security. It's Coast Guard, it's TSA, it's FEMA,
it's too much.
Let's
be candid. That department was a mistake from the moment it was formed, bringing 22 agencies together with many conflicting missions and duplicative missions. It's a nightmare, and I think that must be, I haven't asked the president, but I think that's part of his motivation in reforming it.
Lou, it's funny. So when DHS was created, I was kind of in the mix of that a long time ago, and I said the same thing. The department is so big, and there's such a massive responsibility for the secretary. So, but having said that, so look, we've got an opportunity here to jumpstart stuff, and I think what's key, and I've been asked this. So, if I would say, what would I do going forward? The first thing I would do is we need to change the mindset, and I think they were starting to do this. We have to stop pretending that Congress is going to be part of the solution. We just need to stop. That can't be the strategy going forward. Any effective strategy has to be based in reality. And the reality is Congress is not going to be part of that solution. So going forward, that immediate, bold, swift action we need to take, it's solely going to rest on this administration and DHS to do that.
And this president is doing precisely that. And I think Kevin McCarthy today... I'm sorry?
And he keeps getting shot down, Lou.
Well, they keep trying. The fact is he's moving straight ahead and trying to change what must be changed in that Department of Homeland Security. whether it's citizenship and immigration services, whether it is the Border Patrol itself and their mission, and certainly dealing with the issue of refugee status, which is a disaster, as this president had inherited it from the Obama administration, who had, 180-degree different set of values and purpose in mind. I do think that this is the moment where we're going to see once again border security asserted, and I agree with you 100%. And I think it's wonderful that the president recognizes that the left is no part of this country's national interest. Kevin McCarthy, I've just got to say, Mark, as we conclude here, and I'll give you the last word. He turned to Nancy Pelosi today and said quite simply, what have you and your party accomplished in 100 days for the country? There has been no answer. Mark, you get the last word.
Well, so agreed. And so what we have to do is we have to stop pretending that the government of Mexico is going to be part of the solution, that the Northern Triangle countries are going to be part of the solution, or that Congress is going to be part of the solution. I'm not saying we stop working with them. Those are long-term solutions, and I'm not counting them on the immediate fix. We have to take that swift, bold, immediate action, because if we don't, next month, we're going to get 150,000 people in here abusing our system and allowed into this country. We can't rely on Congress to do it. We've got to take action ourselves.
Absolutely. Mark Morgan, good to have you with us as always. Thanks so much.